Hey everybody, welcome to another review from Instant Mag Escape on YouTube. It is 9:09 p.m. I just finished watching Dragon Ball Super Superhero. As usual, this will be spoiler free. Now, before I get into the details of this review, I want to state that I have not seen any Dragon Ball Super episodes. When Dragon Ball was hugely popular when I was in high school, my senior year, I can remember still to this very day rushing home to watch the latest Dragon Ball Z episode. I've watched Dragon Ball Z, and of course Dragon Ball GT. GT, considering that it's not canon to the overall arc of Dragon Ball and Dragon Ball Z, Dragon Ball Super is picking up after where Dragon Ball Z left off. So I have not watched any episodes pertaining to that. I am completely oblivious when it comes to knowing specific characters, what has happened since then. So please forgive me if I mispronounce any characters or mispronounce their names, or if I simply get certain information wrong. And just feel free to correct me. And I'm very interested in learning and becoming educated more on more on the themes of what has happened since Dragon Ball Z. Having said that, I when I saw the trailer for Dragon Ball Super Superhero, I must admit that I was not initially impressed with what I was watching because it had been so many years since I've watched anything related to Dragon Ball. The last Dragon Ball animated movie that I can remember watching, I think it might have been Cooler's Revenge, or even the first Broly movie. I didn't particularly care for Broly the second coming, and we're not even going to discuss Bio Broly. But like I said, other than that, I haven't really kept up with anything as far as Dragon Ball related is concerned. Dragon Ball Super Superhero is a story that is focusing on the initial progression of Gohan and Piccolo, and of course Dr. Gero's legacy that was initially thought to have been destroyed in the past is living on in his grandson with Dr. Hito. And these new androids show up in the process in an attempt to continue on the legacy of destroying, or rather ruling over humanity and ruling the world. So that is basically the overall consistent theme and plot of this specific film. I have always been a big fan of the Dragon Ball mythology. My first exposure to it was when I was a little kid living in Germany. And there was this kid who he was a classmate of mine in PE, and he had these Dragon Ball Z trading cards where it showed Gohan, Goku, Vegeta, Goten, Trunks, and they all were in their Super Saiyan form. And I just thought that was by far the coolest piece of artwork that I had ever seen. And I did not know it was an anime. I simply thought that it was that was just another form of a comic book or a video game of some sort that just happened to be inspired by Japan. Needless to say, when I first watched Dragon Ball Z living in California, I became hooked. So having said that, as I sat there watching Dragon Ball Super Superhero, I found that it reminded me of why I love Dragon Ball Z so much. Just why I just love Dragon Ball, anything related to Dragon Ball, because the artwork in this film was just so. One of the main things that did bother me about Dragon Ball Z, especially when it was on syndication during the Toonami era, I didn't like how you had one episode or certain sequences of the fight that ultimately had some of the most brilliant pieces of artwork that you've ever seen. Then not even a second later, everything else looks kind of blah. Just the Super Saiyan forms didn't look correct. It just seemed very jarring compared to what was initially considered cool at that point. When I saw the trailer, and then of course, when I watched this film, what really impressed me was just how much more refined, precise, and detailed the visualization of this artwork is. Because I just thought, wow, this is really good. I loved how Piccolo and Gohan and Trunks and Goten and Android 18 and Krillin, and even Brawly. I loved how they just looked. I just loved the artwork of the characters. It was just so much better than what I can remember from Toonami. Needless to say, I loved Dragon Ball Super Superhero. Again, it just reminded me of why I would always rush home to catch the latest Dragon Ball Z episode. Dragon Ball is one of those anime shows where nothing could happen at all for the duration of the episode until you get to the cliffhanger, and you're still eagerly anticipating exactly what is going to occur in the next episode. So it was just one of those themes where, like I said, there was a meme where it just showed Gohan powering up for the duration of the episode. Nothing's going on, and next time on Dragon Ball Z, and that's all you cared about. And it was always something amazing where they picked up off the momentum. Dragon Ball Superhero, what I really enjoyed about the film was how they introduced this new villain in Dr. Hedo, where he's not so much, he is a villain, a misguided villain who simply is more interested in attaining fortune rather than destroying humanity. And the villains with the sense of a moral code and more and just the ability to feel, it has, can be very interesting if it's done right. And in this case, it is absolutely done right. A conflicted villain can be done properly as long as they maintain a sense of what makes them interesting. A lot of times, in my opinion, especially in anime and even some Marvel films in DC, whereas they introduce a villain that has evil intentions, but you're not necessarily sure why he or she is evil. They attempt to make him sympathetic in a forced fashion. This doesn't come out as forced. You feel for Dr. Hito, and the fact that he has a line that he won't cross is what makes him very interesting for me personally. You don't see Goku or Vegeta too much, so and it's always nice to have a story that is focusing on the secondary characters. Even though Gohan is a main character, it is very nice to just have a story that is focusing on more of the importance of those specific characters rather than becoming accustomed to the status quo. So I really enjoyed Dragon Ball Superhero. I thought the visualization was amazing. The artwork was beautiful. I loved seeing how the imagery looked when Gohan was in the Super Saiyan form and Goten and Trunks. And even Piccolo. Just everything about it seemed, it from my perspective, it's what should have been when it came to Dragon Ball Z when it pertains to the artwork. I thought the music was amazing, and the colors are bright and beautiful and refined as well. I thought that was just an immense and a massive amount of improvement as far as pertaining to progressing the story into a much more stronger position, and from my perspective. Having said, like I said, I really enjoyed it. I thought it was absolutely amazing. I loved it. It also has the certain emotional themes that we are all familiar with. I really did enjoy, as well, I have to say, Gamma 1 and Gamma 2. I thought they reminded me more of a fun, exciting, and less intimidating version of the Ginyu Force. I loved what they did with them, and not going to venture into any spoilers. So there is an amazing final fight sequence that I'm sure everyone's going to love, especially those who are familiar with Dragon Ball Z. And there are some very impressive and subtle callbacks to the Cell Saga and the Majin Buu Saga and the Frieza Saga. I thought that was really great too. Overall, I have to say Dragon Ball Superhero is one of the greatest anime films that I have ever watched on the big screen, and I sincerely hope that we see more of these productions actually venturing into the theaters format, because there is an audience for this, and I just loved every second of it. It just reminded me of rushing home, or even when I would record Dragon Ball Z episodes back to back to back to back, I would just sit there and watch these episodes, binging them to no end, and even went as far as buying the Dragon Ball Z complete collection, even the Dragon Ball GT complete series, along with the new Broly movie. I still had to buy Tournament of Champions, and I even own the first Broly movie. So I do recommend it. It is very fun, exciting, beautiful to watch on the big screen, and just the fight sequences are amazing too. They did a brilliant job in capturing exactly how it should look on the big screen, and the improvements that they did with the technology and being able to show the punches landing and the artwork perfectly coinciding with what it should have looked like as far as the original series is concerned. Having said that, that is my review of Dragon Ball Superhero. I hope you guys enjoyed it. For my final rating, I have to give it a 2 thumbs up, a 10 out of 10. Final rating, I do recommend it, and it's not. There's nothing in it that children can't watch, so I do recommend bring your children to watch the film too. That's my review. I hope you guys enjoy it, and let me know in the comment section if you have watched the film. Let me know what you thought about it. Provide a like if you want to, and leave a comment on my Facebook. Also, as usual, there is a link to my Discord server if you're interested in joining and discussing film, video games, comic books, anime, or even just whatever's going on in your life. You're welcome to join. Next review is most likely going to be the invitation that comes out this Friday. Be on the lookout for that, and I hope you guys remain safe and healthy. Take care, and peace out.